Good evening. I'd like to call to order the March 18th meeting of the Middletown Borough Council. If you could rise for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Grace?
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Here. We have a presentation on the Park Master Site Plan Phase 1. Ken?
Okay, Grace, if you can put up our visual there. Since we last discussed Phase 1 of the park plan, we have since reduced the scope of Phase 1 in order to fit into our budget. We are moving on this, or we are asking council to move on this plan this year because we found we have an opportunity to obtain private private funds this year for our matching grant to the tune of $295,000. So with that said, what you're looking at here is Phase 1 is the nature play area on your right. That includes things like a zip line for kids, climbing structures. When I say nature play, the play equipment is designed to look like logs and things in nature, rocks, things like that to climb on. There are areas to play on, areas to play for older children and young children, like the tumbling hill you see in the little green circle to the right. Now, I will say that this particular picture we have up here is missing one thing that we added back in. We added back in the exercise play equipment, or the outdoor exercise equipment that would be in the, right there it is. Okay, we got the right one. We have outdoor exercise equipment for teens and adults included in here, and then we have the walking trail. And part of this phase would also be the demolishing of the pool and filling it in for preparation for Phase 2. So, Grace, if you have the engineer's estimate, we can show that. What you're looking at there, the engineer estimate has like $784,000.
Did you want the Phase 1 line or the Phase 1A?
That one, which is 1A.
So
If you can scroll down. You can scroll down. There you go. That's the total estimate for the project which we would apply for the grant. Now, half of that, if you look in your packet, there's a little spreadsheet in there with the drawings for you that shows where our match would come from. There it is, Ellen, you have it. We have the letter in there also that came from the Middletown Interfaith Housing Association pledging the $295,000 donation. And then we would add in from our capital grant or capital equipment fund for parks, $50,000. Then we have another capital budget fund we can get another $16,000 from. And then the highway department has determined that they can do the hauling and fill and work with the demolition of the pool to get that back up to grade for a cost of in-kind service costs, not real dollars, but their labor, for $30,000. So all total, that would be the 50% match we would need to secure the project. And so, you have a question, Michelle?
The first one that we saw, the
First drawing?
yeah, that the exercise equipment wasn't there, and it is going to be there now?
The engineer gave us two options because we didn't know how much money we could secure for the match. That's all been up in the air until just days ago, okay?
Okay.
So we were originally looking at, I think what we showed you or talked about the last time we had a meeting with you was 700,000 with the parks crew. But since that time, Matt has been able to determine that he can apply labor to the project, and DCNR will approve that. So that adds another 30,000. That means 60,000 toward the project, because the DCNR would match that with 60,000. So then the other 16,000 we have in the capital budget you see in that little spreadsheet I have, that really comes from there was a shelter project that we were planning to do for about $50,000 at Fry, but we determined that we don't need to do that this year, so we're taking 16,000 of that to meet the match. As you recall, Fry, we have a different grant out in the pipeline through the Dauphin County Gaming Board for that, and that would be one that we asked for the full funding for. So any other questions? The grant deadline is April 2nd. Yes, Angie?
Can you go over what play equipment's in there again?
Down at the bottom, there is a proposed climbing structure. Then you have a proposed nature play, like a large log. It's like one of those that you could probably crawl in, I'm not sure. I don't have the detailed drawings here, but here is the tumbling hill with a slide. And here we have more climbing structures. Some of them are like cargo netting climbing structures on wood. And then over here is the zip line. Again, a pyramid type of crawling through and climbing structure.
Can you guys hear me okay, Ken?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, so Angie, ultimately what we have in front of you is essentially like a concept for this playground. So in terms of specific equipment, you know, that would ultimately come in the design, you know, the final design when we're pulling together the final design for bidding documents. So, yeah, in terms of specific equipment, specific climbing equipment, you know, right now we just have a concept, and really that concept is like a nature-themed playground with various elements in it. So there's, you know, we have obviously a dollar amount that fits into that for this concept. You know, and with that dollar amount, you know, you're not locked into the equipment that you see on the screen here. Again, this is just, you know, conceptual at this point. So there will be, certainly through the design process, we'll probably have a similar parks committee, kind of like we have for the master site plan and the pros plan, not necessarily where we have regular meetings, but we'll have design check-ins that say like the 30, 60, 90% design, where we can go through and talk through various specific pieces of equipment at that time. So yeah, no, nothing's set in stone yet in terms of specific equipment. Does that kind of help answer your question there?
Well, yeah, because the only thing I see on there I only see one thing that says ADA accessible. Is that correct?
Again, yeah, I mean, if we want to add more pieces that are ADA inclusive, you know, we can certainly, you know, swap something out like the tumble hill or the log. There's certainly flexibility within the footprint that you see here. Again, this is just kind of a starting point to help guide us in that direction for the final design. So if that's kind of a theme that we're hearing here, that we want to do more inclusive play, we can certainly, you know, modify that when it comes time to lay these features out on engineering plans.
So Angie, you see what he's saying is this isn't a design yet, just a concept.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ask the engineer to start design and spend that money until we know we've got the grant.
Right. Yeah, I understand that.
Because that will be included in the grant funding.
Yeah, because her and I both have said
Yeah,
from the very
I just
beginning.
want to say, Josh, it's probably worth remembering that after the council approval of the concept, we had a funding meeting, and at that funding meeting, we shared with the designer and the group the request for more ADA specific. So that's in the notes. They didn't redraw anything.
Right.
So know that was heard and that was moved forward.
Okay, and I appreciate you acknowledging that, because that is something I think we do really need to consider, because there's a lot down there, and only having one piece, that doesn't sit right with me, so.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
And there's certainly footprint there that, you know, we could, even with what you see here, there's probably opportunity to add in, you know, even without taking away equipment here, there's probably room to add in other stuff. So, yeah, there's, your voice is heard there. I'll certainly add that, you know, to the notes here. Again, this exhibit that you see here moving forward, it really doesn't carry a lot of weight to the final product. So, we hear you, and we'll certainly, you know, in the kickoff meeting, that'll probably be one of the first things that we talk about as we kick in the design there. So, noted.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, as I said, the grant deadline is April 2nd. That's why we're in the last minute of putting all this stuff together and pulling it together quickly. The donation put a push on that because the 501c3 wants to find a home for their donation this year because the organization may be closing that this year. So that was a big driver to get this in before the April 2nd.
Is this DCNR?
No, the private donation funds.
Oh, is this,
Yeah, it's in your packet there.
okay.
Okay? So if not, we can move on. This is on the agenda for you to vote tonight, and what you'll see in your packet then is the proposal from HRG to put together the grant package to submit by April 2nd. And we'll be voting on that. I'll turn it back to you,
Okay.
President.
Thank you.
I'd like to report on our last executive session. We discussed matters of real estate, litigation, and personnel. No action was taken. Now is the time for public comment on agenda items. Seeing none, item number 1.
Do I have a motion to approve council meeting minutes for March 4th, 2025 meeting as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2.
Do I have a motion to approve payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated March 13th, 2025, which is for the period of February 28th through March 13th, 2025, and to ratify approval of those bills already paid and to authorize the appropriate officials to take the required actions to make those payments?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3.
Do I have a motion to approve payment to Wilmington Trust in the amount of $110,500 for the 2023 bond interest and $124,713.33 for the 2024 bond interest for the Spruce Street Substation bond issue?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4.
Do I have a motion to approve payment number 7 to Hayden Power Group? It's invoice 08127 in the amount of $214,990.65 as recommended by Asplund Engineering Services for construction work at the Spruce Street Substation.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5.
Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-3, authorizing HRG to proceed with applying for the DCNR grant for Phase 1 of the South Union Street Park project?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6.
Do I have a motion to approve the retainer agreement number R000516.0524 with HRG in the amount of $7,900 for submission on the South Union Street Park grant proposal to DCNR?
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 7.
Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 2025-4, amending management benefits?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I didn't quite understand this, Ken.
This resolution?
Yeah.
This is revising a resolution from 2016.
Yeah, that's what,
And what the revisions is we increase the payment to the HSA Health Fund for the management people to match what the union people receive.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's about the parity of just, it stays in lockstep. When the union benefits go up, then the non-union
oh,
goes up. Or at least that's what's historically
is it,
been done.
this is for, like, for Grace and stuff, or?
For the all non,
We
Okay.
have a
union.
high deductible health insurance plan for all employees,
Mhm.
non-uniformed employees, management and non-management. For many years, ever since its inception, the unionizers on the non-management employees have been getting fully funded on the high deductible contribution by the borough, and management's only received 50%. What this does is puts management on equal footing with the Teamsters,
Okay,
and helps us recruit management personnel.
okay. I thought that's what it was saying, but I was like,
Yeah, we didn't change all of it, it's just in the one section.
okay.
Yeah, what I did, just so it'd be easy to look at in one place, I did put all the old, there's only a couple little changes in there, but I also repeated, like there's grandfathering dates in there and things, those all stayed the same. I just, I probably should have did a red line, but if you had the 2016 one, 90% of the things that are in this one are also in the 2016 one.
Yeah, I kept,
But my thought was it's easier than somebody trying to piece together, hold up 5 documents at once, so it's,
alright,
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8.
So I have a motion to accept the proposed 2025-2029 5-year CapEx plan dated March 1st, 2025, as provided by the Middletown Water Joint Venture, subject to specific reservations and rejections noted in our letter of response dated March 18th, 2025.
so moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9.
So I have a motion to authorize our solicitor to sign the stipulation and joint order for agreed upon order number 2023 CV 9005 in the settlement of the tax assessment appeal for parcels 42-001-005, 42-001-003, and 42-001-006, also known as 1020 North Union Street.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
I'm
Number 10.
abstaining.
Oh,
Sorry,
you
get that?
abstain?
Yeah, I abstain.
Okay. Item number 10, Manager's Report.
Okay. I think if you look at my report, we already covered items 1 through 5 on our agenda. So if we move to item number 6, on my report. Mr. David Thompson of MABA is here tonight, and he would like the opportunity to discuss hanging sponsorship banners in areas at the baseball fields other than the way the ordinance describes now. Dave, you want to come forward for a minute?
Thanks, guys.
Hi, Dave.
Brought to our attention a couple months ago that we were in violation of an ordinance with 4 banners that we had attached to the bleachers at Oak Hills. The ordinance currently reads that we can attach banners to the outside fence in the outfield and to the back of the backstop at Oak Hills and Med Ed. Our issue with Oak Hills is obviously the concession stand is right up against the backstop. So we've been utilizing for the last 2 or 3 years the back of the bleachers for 4 spots. And then at the end of our fall ball season, like I said, we were notified that, you know, we were in violation of that ordinance, and I'm just here basically trying to come up with a solution. I unfortunately cannot put banners the whole way in the outfield at Oak Hills because nobody will ever see them.
See them.
And losing those 4 spots equals out to $1,000 a year for us. So I wanted to come here and basically ask for approval to still utilize those 4 spots.
How do we do that?
You really, you know, if you're doing that, you should amend the ordinance.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and you maybe have exceptions like, you know, unless approved by Borough Council, by resolution, something like that. But what we, you know, want to try to always avoid is we have a law and then we're, you know, doing ad hoc, you know, failure to enforce kind of thing. But
What do you think would be better, amend the ordinance or write a resolution for an exception?
no, what I'm saying is the ordinance would have to give you that power to make exceptions.
To make exceptions?
I didn't pull out the ordinance to read it, to, you know,
Right.
to know that it doesn't have that, but I'm guessing it doesn't.
I don't fully know if the ordinance that I pulled off the website is up to date, only because it didn't have Med Ed listed on there, but I was told that Med Ed is part of that now that the pool is gone.
Yeah, I remember.
Maybe. All I'm saying is
Read that,
if
yeah.
it's, you know, a straightforward rule, then, you know, if you want to have that flexibility, and if it doesn't already give you that flexibility, we should amend the ordinance
Okay.
to add that flexibility in, which makes sense. Now we'll have to, if there's flexibility, we always have to be First Amendment careful about, you know, we don't get, you know, we have to be objective and, you know, what signs we're not allowed, you know, if we're allowing these advertisement signs, you know, hopefully nothing too controversial comes up, we have to revisit it.
Dave, does MABA have a policy on who they sell spots to? Like, are you looking, or is it just?
I mean, I use my own judgment as to who we put banners up for. I take care of all the sponsorship stuff, so I mean, there's obviously certain businesses I don't go and seek sponsorship from just because I don't think it's appropriate to have those banners hung up in town.
So basically, these banners are advertisements for a business.
Correct.
They're not slogans, and they're not,
No.
you know.
No, they're basically
Statements.
copies of business cards.
Do you have the 4 now, like, that you would be ready to hang them for your opening day? Will you have them for your opening day?
Yes.
And when is that?
Our opening day is April 26th.
And my only thought is we ought to have it be more locational than what it is, you know, we wouldn't be
Right.
picking and choosing what, you know, would be, we're allowing them to be, I mean, right now, obviously, we allow them in certain places, and we're not picking and choosing the content. So we're just, it sounds like we're The only thing would be changing is locationally, you can put them on, and I don't know if, if there's more than one place, since, we advertise when we amend an ordinance, if it's, kind of think through if we say backstop, we'd have to amend it again if there's another thing, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're saying not the backstop, but whatever I guess wanna have something that, or we just say, it's these locations unless by resolution of council, there's another location within the park allowed or something. But we ought to just stay to the physical thing, not draw into that where we're, looking at the content. If we can avoid it, then,
Yep.
And, should council move forward, approve rewriting the ordinance, it probably wouldn't be finished by opening day, so can we grant an exception so they can get funders?
Yeah, that was my question.
Real quick, not to interrupt, but I do try to hang banners by April 1st. In my sponsorship letter to businesses, it says that they'll be up from the 1st of April, and I honestly forget the end date, but it is sometime in October, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess there could be a, council motion that you're not enforcing this with the pending, potentially amending. Now, if you decide not to amend it, then they'd have to they'll have to come back into compliance. It's a little messy to do it, but it's, we ought to at least do something formal if you're doing that.
Okay.
We'd have to do that tonight, right? For April
don't
1st?
Do we have an
Agenda.
agenda item on?
No.
We don't?
No.
Okay, so.
So we couldn't do it tonight, we'd have to do it first.
Next, yeah.
When's our next meeting?
4th or
Um,
5th or something.
I guess
Oh,
we should
it's April
find out
1st.
if, if
Is
all
it April
counselors
1st?
what their thoughts are on this.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Our next meeting is April 1st, that's what we were looking
It's April
Is
1st.
April 1st.
I'm personally okay with allowing it.
Yeah,
Up with
Yeah.
the verbiage.
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I am too.
So, we could direct the solicitor to work on that?
We, like I said, we should offer public comment before you decide if you're authorized, since that wasn't something on the
I'm just
agenda.
talking about the ordinance.
Oh, yeah, no, the ordinance thing, I just meant if you're gonna do tonight a motion, well, I think, actually, we don't have anything on
No.
No, so we can't do any motions tonight, never mind.
But on April 1st, we could move
We
to
can
allow
do a
MAB
resolution
to
on
hang
April 1st or
sponsorship
something.
banners.
But these are banners that were up last year, right?
I can't guarantee that the same
Oh,
banners will be
But there were
be
banners
up.
up last year.
But the
Yeah.
location is the same.
Location is the same.
Yeah, the location's the same as it was the last 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah, I don't,
Mm-hmm.
But if they're on your manager's report, that
yeah,
doesn't
do we
count
circulate?
as being on the agenda?
No, but what I'm saying is we
Yeah, I
didn't
wouldn't stretch it into that.
police him last year, and if council agrees to direct the solicitor to move forward drafting an ordinance, are we really concerned
Right.
about?
I mean, I guess my question too is, if I hang those banners April 1st, are you guys going to police the ordinance and make me take them down before you guys get everything approved?
You had to ask that in public session.
Maybe that's not the right question.
Bingo.
I mean, maybe you should ask Jason that question, not us.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Talk to the codes officer.
All
Not right now.
Not right now.
Yeah. Look, he's doing this.
So we've directed the solicitor to rewrite the ordinance.
Okay.
You could have some of the kids with flagpoles running by.
Yeah, there you go.
Or just stand there the whole time.
And your question could be worked out with our,
Staff.
code staff.
Okay. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, my item number 7, the Historical Society requested a letter of support to put their application for funding from Dauphin County Tourism Grant, and the letter was provided on behalf of Borough Council. Number 8, just another informational item. Veolia implemented an online payment system that's available to residents. Check out their website. And number 9, Cohen Law Group, we've engaged, and they were going to have a meeting on April 10th to kick off our strategies for the renewal of the Verizon cable franchise. There is one item on or that I didn't have in my report at the time of writing this, that I would just give you a little update on. There was a handicap space approved recently, and there's been some neighborhood disputes over the spots, because we put the these 2 handicap spots. Ordinance says you can allow 2 in a block. They're within 1 space of each other. I can recall several years ago when this first came up and we were looking at the ordinance, I had suggested that we do the 2 per block but make them 1 per side, to possibly eliminate that kind of stacking issue, and the thing might happen when they're crowding somebody else out in the block. So that might be something we want to have a discussion on down the road, is looking at that for future revisions, so we don't get into a situation like this again, where you have a handicap spot, a non-handicap spot that's just big enough for 1 car, and then another handicap spot. And the residents don't always play nice with the non-handicap spot. So that's been the source of contention here recently with an area, and I wanted to bring that to your attention so we could give that some thought. We want to think about revising that for future. Or when other ones come up, we'll bring that to your attention if they're close to the one that already in existence.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
That's all I have.
Item number 11, Codes Report.
Good evening.
Even.
Just informational for me here. Typical statistics, same averages of open violations, 8 rental complaints and 6 property complaints for February, and then that we're continuing to work on updating and amending certain ordinances and working with our solicitor on that.
Jason, in reference to the licensing fee, I'm going to ask this. What happens to it if it doesn't get used in a year's time?
For rentals or?
Yeah, for rental inspection.
If what doesn't get used?
The money doesn't get used.
So with that, we haven't set any really hard fee dates or fee schedules with that, but we're going to want to calculate what all our costs are going to be and sort of compensate that with those fees that we have on the licensing and the inspection.
Okay.
So yeah, the goal isn't that we're to be making any money off of it, but we are to be able to fund the program.
All right, because the last time we talked about this, it was, the money was to be administrative, correct? Okay.
Yeah, that's where that licensing fee would be all the administration costs, and then the inspection fees would be for the actual inspections, third-party costs.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. Item number 12, the electric report.
Really, informational items, Spruce Street Substation project update. Both transformer build-outs are completed by Virginia Transformer. All conduit is to a point inside the new substation area. And as of today, the sidewalks and the ditch on Roosevelt, going across Roosevelt, is completed. And the sidewalks are open now, coming down Roosevelt to Spruce. They were kind of closed up there for a while.
Who restored them? Like put them,
Our contractor.
they did a great job. I drove by there the other day and I was like, oh, they look great.
Oh, he's really.
He did a really
particular.
nice job.
Yeah, he's very particular on, all the landscaping and stuff. And again, it does get, like when the substation's done, it gets an all new fence, that has the slats so it covers it. But, there's gonna be plantings, and he has them marked right now, street trees, flowering street trees all along there. And along the substation fence, all four sides will have, arborvitae to try and block it and blend it in with the neighborhood, so it doesn't stick out as bad. So, that's usually the last part of the whole project, is doing all that kind of work. But, yeah, it's coming along pretty quick now. So the building, once, they had a block issue and I had to do a submittal on the block, but they wanted a lighter block on there. And now they're got the block and should be ready to start putting up walls and stuff. But moving right along. Also, I have tonight as 2 action items for the approval of 2 proposals from our consultants and engineers, GDF. The first one's behind the meter generation review and behind the meter generation review. So they'll go in and review what our load is and come up with a plan for us on what they think would be the best solution for generation to help mitigate prices through congestion, transmission, but also add kilowatt hours, on the system. Whether it's solar, whether it's peakers, whether it's battery storage, that's what that proposal will do.
Mhm.
So it doesn't get you anything built, but it tells you, gets you going in the right direction. Because there is so much out there to consider these days, and you want to make sure that you're getting your bang for your buck. You
Greg,
don't want to put
any
something
idea
in
how
this-
long these are going to take? I ask because I feel like we've waited months and months
Just to get the real,
and months just to get a proposal.
correct.
So to wait months and months and months and months for
No,
a
they
study.
know that the rate design has to be in, and that was one of the things we said to them before July's
Before
proposed
July.
increases on the PJM. So we,
Okay.
we would like something back. I don't believe that's going to take them long, the rate design. The behind the meter generation, I can't speak for how long that will take. Ken, you might be able to. I don't know if you had any side conversations with them or.
I did not, no. I mean, we had conversations with them last year,
Yeah.
when we asked for the proposal, at least I did.
You did.
But actually, it'll take a little bit longer than the rate design, because the rate design's pretty much 90%
Cut and dry.
done. We just have to polish that up. But the study to look at, generation behind the meter, what would be the best option for Middletown Borough going forward to mitigate costs to our customers, whether it would be a solar system or farm somewhere, like Greg said, battery storage to cut peaks off, or diesel or gas powered generation to cut off the peaks when our demand's high, to keep those transmission costs down. That's what we expect the study to tell us. We've talked before, we have a trust fund of money that's sitting in reserve that could be used for, could possibly use for the construction of some generation facilities. And we want to make sure we get the best, like you said, the best efficiency out of that money for what it's going to pay back to us. So it will take longer. My guess is that, I don't know, I didn't ask them how long.
Yeah, I could.
would think
Can
it'd
you
be
find out
6
for
months.
us?
Yeah, I'll email
Be
him
good to know.
and see what quarter he would think that he could wrap that up for us.
But it's gonna
That's
involve some
usually how
site-
engineers like to do the things by a quarter, so.
I don't wanna rush this important study, but to just have
But it
some
is
agreed
important,
upon
yeah.
time frame would be good.
Yes, and AMP Ohio is also working on that, peaking generation, looking at, you know, what they could do, as far as a project for Middletown, as a whole group. There might be 20-some participants in this next round of generation, with AMP Ohio, but usually their projects are funded by the savings in the capacity. So that funds the project back, so your customers really aren't seeing any savings right away. They won't see it until that project is paid off for, which they would expect like 6 years. This was the first round. So if we decided to fund it ourselves, then you see it right away. So there's always different types of options that we're just looking at everything as
But
a
that's
whole.
something we're asking the independent engineer to look at.
Yes.
Because AMP Ohio has a business model, and of course, they're trying to sell that business model to us. But we want the independent engineer to look at that. Maybe that's the best answer, maybe going on our own,
Maybe.
building something's the best answer. So they have a lot of things to look at. And what I could tell you that I've learned through this process is the electric industry and buying power, and with the markets, and it's a commodity that's traded, it's very complicated. And, you know, there are some liabilities you can get into, so you really need to have a professional look at this. It's not like where I came from, the simple water industry, which isn't sold as a commodity anymore, it's just a utility. But electric industry is being, you know, it's a commodity on, you know, a global, a national and global commodity, so it takes some real experts to look at this stuff and see what's best for
Thank you.
society.
Yeah, for instance, like our neighbors, Ephrata down there, when I was down there, we were in the process of doing a solar farm, and they have that up and running now. But that was done as a power purchase agreement. So they don't own the solar farm. They're buying the power from it and getting the capacity, you know, off of it for when it's peaking. And then after, I think, so many years, you know, in an agreement, then you can purchase the farm off of them. But there's a lot of stuff involved with that because you have tax credits that we're not able to benefit from. So you might need a private partnership, and that's what GDS will look at. And GDS was part of Ephrata's system too, so they are very versed and have a background in this generation process. But I'll get you that, and I'll send you an email out.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So tonight, I'd like, again, the approval, or the recommendation for approval of those two, so we can get this moving as quick as possible.
Does the new, facility have a battery backup at all, or?
Yeah, we have there's, in substations, there's always a battery system that you use for, your controls. So if power's out, you obviously need power to work it, so that's when your batteries come back in. So,
It's not a battery system.
but it's not
Community, what he was just talking about.
yeah. The battery storage system I'm talking about, is a process that we could probably put where the old substation was, and they bring them in these units, and they set them down, and wire them all in. And what you do is you charge these things when it's cheap for you, like on off-peak, like at nighttime, and then you can discharge them during the peak hours. You know, and it's, I believe, and I don't hold me to this, but it sounds like it's like a 1 to 10 ratio, so it's a tenth of the cost to charge them, but then you'll get that, you know, 10 times that out in generation. So, you know, you could do this like every day, or you could do it during peak, so there's different things you can do with that, but that's what they'll look at. And that's, I mean, it's a right move for the borough, definitely. So.
All right. Okay. Any other questions? I have a couple of motions based on what he talked about. The first one in your packet is the rate design study. Do I have a motion to approve the retainer agreement dated March 7th, 2025 with GDS Associates in the amount of $12,500 for an electric rate design study funded with engineering funds approved in the 2025 budget?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Second letter in your packet is the behind-the-meter generation study. Do I have a motion to approve the retainer agreement dated March 4th, 2025 with GDS Associates in the amount of $50,000 for a review and proposal of behind-the-meter generation funded with engineering funds approved in the 2025 budget?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for me?
I got one. When are you
Yes.
gonna add on to that bill?
So I did talk to our engineers and they're recommending that we talk to a, architect that was involved with that, and I can get you, I didn't have a chance to do that yet, I was with AMP a lot this last 2 weeks, but we will, probably next meeting, I'll have some information for you from the architect on what he would expect to do. You know, maybe he can give us a price, a cost to do, like a general space study and a proposed, like a sketch cost estimate, and then I'll bring that in, which will be
Okay.
probably cheaper than, you know, what we were looking at before.
All right.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Item number 13, finance.
Hi, Sally.
Sally.
The only item I have that I wanted to bring to your attention is that I had asked 2 third-party tax collectors for quotes to collect our per capita in occupation because we do not have a tax collector for the borough. I got 2 back, one from Keystone, who is currently our delinquent tax collector, and Berkheimer. Berkheimer is connected to Berk One, who actually issues our bills right now. So Berkheimer actually came in substantially lower, and so in the at the April 1st meeting, I'm requesting approval to move forward on the contract.
And we've looked at the contract and the proposed resolutions are all good, so.
Does anybody have any other questions on my report?
That's your per capita and occupation.
Per capita and occupation.
Right.
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sally. There's no one here from the fire department. Number 15 is the highway report.
Okay, couple of different things going on. Over Deer, I think the rain over the weekend slowed them down a little bit. We were hoping they would start getting some equipment in the ground. The mason was here yesterday, and they did the top of the existing brick monument over there. They remortared that and got that looking good, so that was taken care of this week. As Ken noted, working on the DCNR proposals for a couple of different things. Woody Waste Facility opens this week. Sally is carrying the most of the load for the streetscape project out here so far regarding setting up different meetings with PennDOT and the engineer. We have a kickoff meeting with them coming up, actually later this week, I believe, to get started with HRG, and we can start on the design process for that. So Ken and I and HRG had discussion with Fish and Boat Commission regarding potential trail and some different things down there on their property. In general, they were agreeable to it. On their end of things, they're just doing some more research. They're also working on updating, renewing our agreement with them. We have a 25-year long-term agreement with them for use of it, and they're working on revising that. DEP conducted an inspection at the reservoir dam and provided a report outlining some maintenance issues. Ken and I met with DEP on site, discussed the report. I have a meeting second week of April, I think it's the 9th, to go to DEP and look through their paper files and get copies of whatever information, plans they have on how the dam was constructed and how the piping and everything else is through the dam. Some of the things that DEP has are dated 1902, so the dam's 123 years old. So been there a while.
They haven't sent any notice of violation or anything, right?
No. We discussed that. As long as we're moving forward, they will work with us. There are things that will need to be done there, so we will be bringing back and having further discussion at some point regarding how we may want to go with things down there.
They're requiring some repairs to the dam, some tree removal, and also a drainage valve to the basin needs to be repaired, replaced, which I believe could involve excavating the whole drain line to the reservoir, which is probably silted in. I mean, that hasn't been operated in 30 years. But all of a sudden, there are new rules that came out in 2011. I think that DEP said that now they have the staff to go out and enforce. This is called a Class 4 low hazard dam that DEP hasn't actively enforced since the new rules went in 2011, and now they are enforcing them. So it's going to be some capital cost if we're going to keep that property and keep that site. Matt's going to have to come back with some engineering estimates what it's going to cost to, number one, repair the drain, because the reservoir, according to the new rules, has to be able to be drained down within 2 feet, 4 feet within 24 hours if there becomes an emergency with the dam structure. So that could be somewhat costly. I don't know. The last time we did an abutment repair was many years ago, probably 30 years ago, and it was at least $30,000 to $50,000 when we did that 20, 30 years ago. So the Borough Council will get these estimates, and we'll have to make a decision. Do we go get money or grants to try to fix this? The second option is, do we breach the dam and get rid of it altogether? That's an option. And there's procedures for that the DEP has. Or do we sell it, the property, give it away, whatever? We've talked about those things before. So now it's going to be crunch time. We have to decide what we really want to do with it. Correct? Anything I leave out?
Nope. That was a great summation. Once I get the drawings and we can start to see how the dam is made and the piping, then I'll start working with the engineers to see what we may need to do. We know the lake is heavily silted in, so it's a very good chance that the piping is buried under a bunch of sediment. And as Ken noted, one of the requirements was any tree roots, you have to excavate all of the tree roots out. You just can't get rid of the tree. You have to chase them and get rid of all the roots wherever they go. There's some stuff there. So I will have more information. It may be a month or two until I have some more solid information for you, but there will be some information forthcoming. Veolia will be completing a number of projects. You should have a little map in your packet there. It's not the easiest to read at that scale. They are doing a project on Aspen, on Spruce, a couple on Spruce, a small one on Peters, down on North Union Street between Spring and Main, and Water Street, and then the south side of Vine, Vine south of Main, excuse me. So they're going to have a couple. Some of these are water projects, some of them are sanitary sewer projects, some of them are both overlapping one another while they're doing their work. So they will be having some work occur this summer. This project is out to bid now, so it's going to happen this summer.
The south side, did you say the south side of Vine?
basically south of Main Street, Vine south of Main Street.
There's a little stub between Water and Main that's Vine, in front of Seven Sorrows.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, we'll have the pre-construction meeting, we'll go through all of our normal things with these. I just wanted to, give you folks an update on, these are some upcoming things that will be happening. So there will be some traffic control and, some road detours and things like that as it progresses. Street sweeping will start, in about a month or so. I did meet with Maura, last week to discuss some MCSO policies and rentals. We kind of agreed sitting there that Mara's been in place now for, I think, roughly 8 years or so. And, we can see with some different people and some different moving parts that some of the things may need to be better defined operationally, as well as maybe some of the responsibilities. So, they're looking at it, the school district folks are looking at it from their end, Abby is involved with that. I'm going to be pulling some things together of things that I've just seen here, like specifically with the MCSO. There were some creative folks that rented the MCSO and had a for-profit craft sale in there. So I advised Mara that we would want to cancel that one. I guess they've scheduled it every month for this year for the foreseeable future. Pretty creative thinking, I guess. So they've canceled the April one, and my goal is to work with the Mara folks, and I will have information for you at the April workshop so that we can start wading through these, and then we can solidify how we want to proceed with this moving forward so that we can not have loopholes like that one. So more info will be coming up on that. I don't have any action items. That was the majority of what we have. We should hear on the Fry Park grant, I'm assuming perhaps before the workshop. I'm thinking we should hear something here in early April. So, and then we'll have some direction to go with that one. So, there's a lot of things going on with parks right now. So, anything for me?
Matt, it's been a while,
Yes, ma'am.
since we were having conversations, discussions about, woody waste and dump permits, access, and so on. Do you mind, please, for the next workshop, bringing that back before us so we can,
Sure.
maybe make some final decisions?
It's interesting. We just got, one of the services at Capcog, which we're a member of, the services they provide is they do joint bidding for all of their members, and we participate in the joint bidding. And many municipalities put on there for wood carpet for their parks. And this year there were no bidders for wood carpet, which is very surprising because I think there were probably 20 or 25 municipalities and there was no bid for wood carpet. So there's stuff going on in that industry right now. I'm fairly certain we're not going to have a place to go with our materials any longer. So yes, I will bring some information back and some ideas that we can banter around a little bit, some suggestions, but I think we're really going to have to limit the materials that we get in.
Woody waste?
Yes.
And the dump?
No, the dump is fine. As far as like our community, that's fine. Those dump permits are fine for people cleaning out a house or whatever. That's not a problem. But the woody waste is, we're going to most likely have to make some.
And we're sure that the dump is used just by residents who are residents?
The woody waste or the
dump.
garbage dump?
The dump passes?
Well,
we don't, if you don't mind just coming back next time and explaining that permit and access process so we can just hear about it again.
The dump is probably like the woody waste, where we probably have people in town who may have commercial ventures who also could very well use the dump as part of that as well. It's difficult to define, as we're not seeing where the material is generated from. But yes, I can resurrect both things.
I know we started those conversations, so we'll circle.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds awesome, sure.
Thank you.
Anything else for Public Works? We're going to be getting over to the inlets, in the backyards over there.
Okay.
I had plans for winter, but winter had different plans for us.
Yeah. Understood.
So, yes, we do have salt budget remaining, so we did well with that. So, as always, if you have any questions or if you need anything additional explained, please just reach out and I'll work to get you the information. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
you.
Matt.
Thank you.
When are we gonna
Item number 16, police report.
when are we gonna
Hello, everybody. I just have two things I'm going to discuss tonight. The one is the air show update. Lower Swatara Police and the Middletown Police are pooling our resources on fire police for this event. We have traffic control points that we're both responsible for in connection with this event. The good thing is, and we talked about this last time, that the most important time for us to be controlling these is when it's over. People will trickle into the event, but 5,500 cars are going to try to leave all at the same time, and probably half of them are going to come in our direction. So there's a fire police meeting either this weekend or this week. They're going to get back to me, and hopefully we'll have enough resources that together with the law enforcement that's working for both departments, we'll be able to get people on their way as quickly as possible. I'll keep you updated on that. And then we will be holding National Night Out this year, August 5th, Tuesday, first Tuesday in August. I'll have a permit for your approval at your next meeting. So we've already made some assignments internally on people who are going to be helping with it. So we already have some ideas on some things we'll be having there. So more to come.
Great. Yeah. Very exciting.
Chief,
We might have a dunk tank that if you bring some perishable items, you can try to dunk a local celebrity from council. I'm looking
who
for
said Rochelle?
I'm looking for some volunteers.
Who said Rochelle?
The line would be down the block.
Why me?
See, wouldn't that be fun?
Why me?
So I've already volunteered to go in it all myself. So
I'll go in, but
we
leave
have
me alone.
we have the food pantry down at the police department. If you bring non-perishables, we can keep them in our closet and use that to stock the pantry as the year goes on. So
That's totally unfair to put me in the dunk tank.
Wait, is that related to the dunk tank? I'm confused.
to be able to dunk
Oh,
somebody,
that's, okay.
you got to bring some groceries in a bag.
Okay,
and
and then you're gonna, okay.
Then we'll I mean, that's just an idea, but
Oh, okay.
I think it's totally unfair to want to dunk me. But I have a question for
Yes.
you, Chief. Do you realize that there's going to be trickle outside of the parking area, that it's going to actually go down Grant Street? Because that happened. It's going to go into
sure,
the neighbor.
I'm sure people will do whatever they can to get out of here as quickly as possible.
No, I mean, the parking is going to go on the outside.
I think we'll have people parking all over town that has a good spot to watch the show.
Yeah, because
Susquehanna Street, like, I think we talked about that. We already got a permit for a food truck request.
right. Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, again, people are going to be parked along 230 in front of Penn State, I'm sure. It's a big deal.
Yeah,
So
because
it's not just people coming and going. We have to deal with people finding spots to watch the show.
yeah, when Trump came here, back in 20, I guess 2019 or 19, we had people parking down Grant Street.
There'll be security issues with where the borough abuts to the airport property down along the river.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of logistics to deal with.
Yeah.
It's not just a parking issue, but the parking issue is the one that's taking up the initial work assessment right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Because they're gonna take up all our parking down there.
The only good thing is the show's only from 12 to 3. It's only
Oh, is it?
It's from 12 to 3. And it opens at 8 o'clock, so people will trickle in between 8 and 12, but at 3:01, it's gonna be a nightmare. And our job is gonna be, I'm sorry if you're on a side street, but you might be sitting on that side street for a long time. Because it's gonna be just get everybody out.
Oh, we're gonna have a party or something.
So, anybody have any other questions? Thank you.
Thank
Dan?
you.
Oh, Dan,
Yes,
I had a quick question about the permit parking area review.
Yeah, I went up there, last week and just counted cars for fun to see who was parked this was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday. There was 20-some cars parked in the permit parking area only. I don't believe any of them were students. They were randomly parked throughout. I checked with the borough secretary who maintains the permit parking application process, and there have been 6 parking permits issued for that zone.
Just 6?
Just 6. I'm guessing that residents know it's not enforced, and they stopped getting permits. That would be my assumption.
Is this the Grandview area?
Yes. So again, to properly assess whether the area is necessary, you need people to apply and hang up their placard. And law enforcement needs to enforce these cars without placards, and occasionally somebody might forget and not hang it. We would of course take care of their parking ticket, but it's hard to assess the necessity of the parking zone when we're not enforcing it and the residents aren't even obtaining permits.
Right.
That happens.
So,
And I think I was talking to, Dan the other, and if you can picture Wharton from Spring up to the campus, it does not have permit parking on either side of the street, and that's where students park if they don't pay for
right.
on-campus parking.
There's a no man's land
And if you
between
count
campus
those
and us.
spots, you can get close to 55 cars, and you can drive up there any day, any time of day, and there's always spaces available. So the logic tells us then that if students can park most conveniently along Wharton, that is the closest to the campus.
Is that the one coming down from the campus?
Yeah. So on the one side is what used to be Grandview, and now is probably the site for their student housing. And on the other side is part of the cemetery. And then a little further down is what would be the side yard of Joanna McCain's.
Right.
It's not permitted, and there's never any cars down there. So I understand what you're saying, like how should you manage a permit program that doesn't even seem active?
And I'm not sure we should get rid of it. They're building another student housing there, and if we get rid of the permit parking, I think the creep may occur. I mean, I would have saved $100 as a college student and walked 2 blocks to park. But I didn't go to Penn State, Harrisburg.
And I guess the question came up because Matt's replaced half the parking signs since they were so faded. So are we replacing? I'm not saying I have the answer, but the question that seems to follow, because I think we sort of put you on pause until we had some conversation, what to do with all those signs. I mean, there's blocks and blocks of permit signs.
Why don't you take the ones that are faded and you can't read, why don't you just take those down, leave the pole there for now? And see if you get any kind of complaints that signs should go back on.
I mean, you could also put some notes on some cars reminding people it's permit parking, and if you're a resident, please apply for a permit. But if you're gonna get rid of the zone, I wouldn't wanna make somebody pay.
Right.
But it was put there for a specific reason. There was a problem. The parking zone seemed to have corrected the problem. I'm not sure removing the zone wouldn't allow the problem to recreate itself. I don't know without putting some more time and energy into assessing the problem, but we had a problem.
Yeah, you did.
And it
We
was
did,
resolved,
and
and
there's
I wasn't here
also
at
more
the time.
student parking. I don't know
There
if
is.
it's the permit program solved it, or
I don't know.
more student
The-
parking on.
Well,
I
and
was
think-
on council when that happened, and it did alleviate the problem.
Right.
But they did make more parking up there, but if they are building that new housing right there
That's the unknown.
and adding more students, I don't think we should eliminate that
Nope.
block right there, even if it's not being utilized right now. Because if we take it away, it's gonna be that much harder to put it back in a
Right.
couple years. But I do think sending maybe notices out saying, you know, this is
Permit park.
permit
Maybe
parking.
we can put flyers on some
Or
cars.
put flyers, yeah,
It's-
just to remind them, they should
Yeah.
apply for the permits.
You know, as Mr. Whelan said when he was in, who lives out there, he lives right up at Wharton and Union.
Right.
And he stated he never had the problem with kids
Right.
as far out as where he lives.
Right.
And he suggested that when we made the zone, we made it too big.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you look at those outer reaches of the zone, like up on Grandview,
Right.
there's some signs there you can't read at all.
Right.
That's why I said, instead of having people see their signs you can't read, what if you just took those down
Mm-hmm.
and didn't do anything with the ordinance, you know? You could
Mhm.
always, that's a way of testing whether the people on that street are gonna call and say, I want my sign.
Right.
I don't know, that's just a suggestion. But could do nothing too.
I don't know that we have any direction per se, if that's what you're standing there staring at us
No,
for.
I'm
But Jim Whelan brought it up, and he's absolutely right. Half the signs you can't even read.
And
And
does
there's-
it need
and
to be that
secondly, there are
large?
no students parking in those areas, especially from Spring to Union. I mean, when you say the zone's too big, Spring to Union, maybe, Spring to Catherine, but, I'm certainly not trying to make a problem we don't have. It's just that we put Matt on pause for ordering more signs, so.
Okay.
How much are the signs, do you know?
The plates themselves are somewhere in the neighborhood of $70 a piece.
And that's what needs to replace, not the poles.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
How many signs do you have, Matt?
There's at least,
I think I have more replacement signs that are already made, they're custom signage. I'd have to count how many are there, how many I have in stock, I can get that info for you.
Well, if you're unfamiliar with the area, maybe we all familiarize ourselves with it, just again to see how, that's Spring to Union is a pretty large area. And again, I wasn't here, I don't know how large the problem was before, but it had to be significant enough that we signed that large of an area. And maybe, Penn State, I can reach out to Penn State and see if they're gonna be expanding parking areas with the new student housing. Will the new students walk those 2 blocks? They don't walk from Nittany
yeah.
Place, so I doubt they'll walk from there, so.
It's, clearly not the most important thing, but it would be interesting to know number of students in the new housing complex and how many parking they're providing however that works.
Okay.
Cause it will impact the neighborhood.
You see, I don't know what the impact is, but I know from representing Lower Sotera Township and the municipal authority that both the campus and the municipal authority are about to do pretty substantial construction through the campus right now. Because they're kind of trying to figure out the logistics of where they're laying dirt and all that kind of stuff. Because there's a new sewer interceptor going through there, and then they're building at the campus. So, it's only gonna be a matter of months or whatever, but I know they were talking about impacting parking lots. I don't know how substantial, but I know the issues were coming up about,
Oh, interesting. Well, maybe worth a phone call just to see what's going on.
yeah, not that that's a
I mean,
long-term
that's-
thing, it just,
But it still will impact.
it may throw off whatever you're trying to look at for
Right,
a couple of
right.
months.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 17, joint venture Veolia. Grace, if you note for the minutes, no one appears to be here. And number 18, council.
I have some things.
Okay.
So over the weekend, I had a conversation with, a resident, and we were discussing Woody Waste. And this is probably not the best time to bring it up, but, so, she was talking about, not really having the ability to go to Woody Waste, and I know I had brought this up a couple years ago, and it didn't, it wasn't something council was interested in, but our conversation progressed to talking about the possibility of, doing like a, pickup at the end, or like in the,
Spring,
thank you, spring
and
pickup,
fall.
like a cleanup, like for people that don't have the ability to go to Woody Waste, like, people that maybe don't have a truck or just don't have the ability to do that. So I told her that I would bring it up because I am in favor of that. I don't know how we could manage it in terms of, the logistics of, having it picked up by our employees. If it would be something that it's put out, in certain areas at a certain time, and I'm talking like a one-time pickup at the beginning of the season after they do their, winter cleanup of their yards, and then maybe in the fall, before winter or something, because I think that our residents pay a lot to live here, and we don't offer a lot of services like that. Yes, I know we offer Woody Waste, and they pay $10, but not everybody needs a Woody Waste card or has the ability to go to Woody Waste. So that's what I'm proposing, is something for those residents that only need a one-time service because they can't put their, winter, their winter Woody Waste in the trash. You're not supposed to do that.
You could consider for your next, trash contract, bidding out a, proposal that would, allow residents to put out Woody Waste in those big brown paper bags, like they do in the township.
Yeah, but
Do they do that all the time? Like every,
Once a month.
once a month?
Yeah, but what are they gonna do until then?
And it's not year round, it's from a season.
Right.
It might start now, once a month until
I
October.
feel like we had a spring, I'm calling it a spring cleanup, but we had that one time here. Does anyone remember that?
That's
Yeah.
spring cleanup for trash.
Yeah, it was a trash
The dumpsters.
cleanup.
Yeah.
We made them every week you can go down. But we used to just bring trash dumpsters in years ago. They'd be down there on Market Street somewhere, and it would be like a whole weekend or so where you could.
Yeah, I'm
Have a
not
spring
talking, that's not what, I don't mean something like that. I'm talking just,
Not for wood, we never had one.
yeah, we didn't see, I
Just
thought
leaves.
we did.
It wasn't a one-time cleanup. The borough used to pick up Woody Waste as
Yep.
a monthly thing, and I think one time when they
That's
tried
when,
to make it a monthly thing, everybody and their brother put stuff out, even guys that had trucks, and they just didn't wanna take it up themselves. I think that's one of the biggest problems they seen at the time.
Well, we used to,
Do that, people just throw
Right.
on the curb, and then you'd have to come out and rake it up, and
well, we had a Woody Waste truck at one point
yeah,
that would go around and pick up.
yeah, and that was that before we had the Woody Waste facility?
No,
Jeff Stonehill.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yep.
I should've known.
yeah.
I mean, they did it for a couple of years, Ken, but then they, it really became problematic, and they stopped it altogether. I just remember when they said they were gonna stop it, I think they had it one time, and everybody and their brother
Yeah, you get somebody
just,
puts up.
guys that had trucks just put it on the curb because,
There
Up
we
to the
go,
curb.
right.
but
Wasn't,
there's contractors out there too that will come and pick your Woody Waste stuff, and, yeah, I don't know. That's for council to decide.
Well, I think the fact that we're, from what Matt said, we're having a problem, we're going to have a problem getting rid of it the way it looks in the future. Having a curbside service picking up is gonna promote more Woody
Yeah.
Waste, I would think.
Well, and again, I'm not talking about picking it up monthly.
Yeah.
no,
or like I'm talking about like a one-time pickup for residents that can't do it. And I'm not saying like, oh, we'll come to your house once and then next week we'll go to somebody else's house. It would be like one day, June 1st, put your stuff out and that's it. And if you don't put it out, it's not getting picked up.
That would be the thing to noodle through with that program. Who really needs it other
Yeah.
than everyone,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you suggested? If you can, take it out
Right.
yourself.
Right. Yeah.
But if you can't, how do we?
Right, I don't know.
But
Yes,
the,
that's,
the
yeah.
thing, the
That's
thing is I suggested to Ange, I
Charge.
said maybe what you do is you call in, you know,
Even
and,
if it's not a huge charge, just any.
Yeah.
That's a lot of staff though,
you
a
know,
lot of staff time.
We wonder
not,
how
not
many.
if you could do it during like a Friday or a Monday, you know, and you break it up in the wards, and you know, like somebody go east and west and somebody go north and south during a ward, and the wards are 3 wards. You know, it might be a lot of staff time for one day.
I kinda remember based on what Greg said, and I think Fudge is about to say, cause you were probably involved in this. One of the problems
involved in that, we did have it in wards, it was
but
3
what,
individual days, we had 13 employees, and we used 3 trucks.
and one of
Right.
the problems was you had to drive around and look for it,
Correct. And it was an 8-hour a day shift,
yeah.
just doing that.
But the thing is if you get people to call in and say where it's at,
Who you calling to?
call the office.
Typically, if someone knows that it's going to be occurring, they won't call in, they'll just put it out expecting it to be picked up as the truck goes by.
But
That's human nature.
they have to pay.
Yeah, but they get the permit.
So then you would
That-
have the woody waste and leaves and stuff,
And then
whatever, all sitting there that would get blown around. So there was a lot of issues with the program, and that's, the main reason was, lack of employees. You know, when they went from 13 people down to 4 or 5, you know, it was hard to administer a program like that.
Well, there, I can kinda recall there were times when you went to a site and you almost picked up a whole tree that was cut up.
Absolutely.
Up front. Or you had the backhoe out there and the dump truck,
3 employees and
so you'd have to have some rules with it.
Well, right, I know.
There'd have to
It's
be-
not
yeah.
as simple as we can put your stuff out.
Yeah,
That's
maybe it's,
the
they
whole
buy
point
the
of
yeah,
bags.
you're
the
not
discussion.
you're not taking a whole
Maybe
tree.
they buy a couple of those brown bags and we'll pick up those brown bags.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's it. It's
Yeah.
a limit
Because
of,
then it's
you know.
contained.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
Yeah.
you
They
if,
have to put it in something that prevents the blowing around. That's
yeah,
a
if
good
they
idea.
if they put it in
I feel
one
like-
of those bags, then we'll know.
When it was done back then, people did just put it out. Like I remember seeing
Just laying
things.
in the
Yeah, it didn't have to be like bagged, and maybe that would be one thing.
Mhm.
It would have to be bagged.
Well, we can keep talking about it.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing more about woody waste in
Yeah.
April, won't we, Matt? You will.
anyone else?
One thing. I got a bug in my ear today or yesterday, about the agenda. Can we give, under each of the little, agenda items, like a little blurb as to what the items are about? Maybe, like, when it,
Back available?
does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
Not
Who said
all
yeah?
of it.
Okay. Does that make sense, Jenny?
I guess. I mean,
Nobody knows what
I don't,
you're talking about, 'cause I don't know what you're talking about.
Alright, like when
I
it
don't ever
says,
recall an agenda with blurbs underneath it.
well, when it says, resolution, 2025, just give a little synopsis of,
So you wanna hear more than application to DCNR?
right, just a little bit.
You wanna hear grant application to DCNR for park project on South Union Street?
There you go.
so you want like a sentence.
There you go, yes.
Yeah,
we
you
get
gotta
that.
say, the one trick of Sunshine Act is sometimes you gotta be careful if you get too specific. There's some places I go and they literally write the motion.
And you box
And then it
yourself
turns into a whole fiasco of, oh, I have an alternative idea. So there is some beauty in bullet points that are,
If we make
you just
the-
have to be careful if you're
If we make
expanding
the
it.
agenda item specific, really specific, then you get to a point where somebody brings something up, you can't vote on it the other way.
Yes, at least you get into arguments about it, so.
Really?
Yeah. Because sometimes it will be, approve the so-and-so agreement for $34,000, blah, 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 and then there's a big fight over, well, why don't we do this whole, but if it's, we're approving this arrangement, you can, you have more latitude. There's not a hard and fast rule on it, but all I'm saying is you gotta be, strike a balance between, you can't tell what it is versus there's too much there.
I mean, I gotta tell you, when you look at these agenda items, like approval of HRG proposal, South Union Street Park project, the meeting prior, the workshop or whatever prior, had a whole presentation that we gave, and we put it on video, and it's available. I mean, I can see we could add a little bit more, but you gotta,
Yeah.
who are we satisfying? It might be that I come up with it, the person that writes it, and it doesn't have enough of what you wanted anyway. So we can make an attempt and make them a little bit longer, but,
It is up to the body, but like you said, I do see some where they go the other way, where it's really, really, really detailed, including, here's the motion, the wording of the motion. And that just gets odd then when you're, trying to go into the broader spectrum of whatever you're talking about.
for example, like the settlement of tax appeal, what more would we put there? Maybe put the address or?
Well, I mean, let's be, I guess for lack of a better word, choosy about what we say.
Why, we are choosy, but
You know what I mean.
being choosy here, there's people talking to you that's not enough, so I don't know what items, I'm looking for examples, what
There's
is
some
it
stuff
that
we
you-
can't
you-
put out,
you
right?
need more?
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of it can. It just really is trying to strike that balance of how much you put in.
Yeah, strike an equal balance as to what you say.
Yeah. I mean, it ought to put you on notice. What is the concept, and do I have an interest in coming in to deal with it? So
Yeah,
it could be more than 3 words in a bullet, but all I'm saying is you gotta be a little careful if you go too far. Then somebody says I was misled. If you stayed right within that,
we'll try
I'd have
to-
been fine, but I didn't come to the meeting because I thought this was exactly what you were doing. And then you guys strayed off and said, not only no dogs, but no cats. And it's, as opposed to, review pet policy, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Anyone else? Mayor? Nothing. Okay, now is the time of general public comment. Before we begin, I just want to ensure that everyone knows these meetings are live streamed and they are recorded. So anyone with public comment wants to come forward.
Jack Still. For example, if I would look at this before the meeting and I seen item number 5, I would have no idea what that's going to be. And there's probably many, many instances. I don't see too many here. But to read this before you come to the meeting, it doesn't tell you what you're going to... some things don't tell you nothing. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Kay Arrington Colston, and my husband is Charles Colston. I'm here on his behalf. He had heard that the Colston Park was going to be moved, and he's not happy with that, okay? He would prefer that the park stay where it is. It's where Tony grew up. Tony only lived right across the street. I'm here on the family's behalf, and he thinks that the only thing that you would really need there would be maybe another pavilion, maybe some playground equipment, benches, trash cans, you know. He feels that the park should stay where it is. People in the neighborhood can have easy access to that park instead of going, I think you all wanted to move it down to Susquehanna Street or something like that. So that's his concern. And in regards to Rochelle's issue about the agenda, you don't have to be that specific. If I want to know when they're going to discuss Colston Park, and I see it on your agenda, all you have to put down there is Colston Park, all right? And I'll be at the meeting. So if you know when you're going to have that discussion, please let us know.
Ms. Colston, let me add a little bit to dispel your concerns, and you can tell your husband. There was never any plan to move Colston Park. There is no current plan to move Colston Park. We did a master site park study, started more than a year ago.
Just 1 second. You got something? I want to make a note. That's what happens when you work for the state. You're used to work for the state, anyway. Okay, no plans.
There's no current plans to move Colston Park. The leak got out at a workshop brainstorming session more than a year ago when we were sitting down with our engineers and some council people and some other people who were on this ad hoc parks committee group about our long-term plans for all parks in Middletown. And at that time, the consultants had talked about, well, you know, money's always an issue, and maybe you ought to look to limit how many parks you have if money's a concern. Because when you have parks, you got to make sure you budget enough to keep them maintained. So at that time, somebody, I don't recall who, said about, well, you know, there's some of these smaller pocket parks that maybe you might want to decide you want to get rid of. If you want to build a bigger park on Susquehanna Street. Because we had ideas, I did, and some other people making a large a waterfront park down along Susquehanna Street. And at that time when I was discussing that idea, I myself threw out the idea of what if, to get community buy-in, if we make this waterfront park larger with trails and then maybe more fields, basketball, football plays down there now, baseball, maybe that would be a great area to call the site Colston Park. That was me, and that was just brainstorming stuff. It never went anywhere.
Okay, understood.
But somebody started talking outside the walls, but here's the plan. It's not in here. The only thing's in here, it identifies all the parks we have and what we're going to do to each park, including Colston Park, as far as maintenance.
Okay, so what do you plan to do with Colston
Well,
Park?
the recommendations from the engineer were to restripe the basketball court, put new backboards and rims and so forth up, and a pavilion. I think some of the things might have been done. I don't know if they all were, but
I know there's been a pavilion down there already, basketball courts there.
we
They got,
placed a
they
sign.
got a swing, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's that whole area, you know,
Yeah.
that's backs up on Russell Street. That's all like vacant,
Right.
basically.
Right.
You know, where we were thinking, okay, maybe another little pavilion or a bench or something, you know, back in that area.
So the engineer didn't know at the time that, you know, I knew because I used to run the wastewater plant down there. He thought, well, yeah, maybe you could use that spot for something else. I said, no, you can't build there because underneath that playground are two large storm sewer systems that you can't put footers or anything there. So it's really a perfect place for a pocket park. Because you really can't do it, you can't build or do anything else there.
Okay.
So for those reasons, I want to assure you that Colston Park is not going anywhere, and if somebody gets an idea, sometime down the road, we'll make sure the Colston family knows and it's
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Okay, appreciate that.
And it was really only an idea, and it was meant to honor Tony in a way that, more than like we understand the location of the park across from his home, but as Ken was saying, the vision, and this is years down, is more like a sports area, and because of Tony's amazing athletic abilities, that was the only intention, not to move a park, but to honor him with a larger focus on sports, something that he honored us with over his years.
Yeah, okay, well, I think that'll satisfy him for now.
If I may ask you, where did you hear that?
I'm not gonna tell you that, okay?
Yeah, I find it interesting since there was no plan.
No, I'm not gonna tell you that.
Okay.
Okay.
Respect that.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm another Colston. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
My name's Doreen. I have many names, but it's Sawyer's at the moment. And I'm Tony's, one of Tony's first cousins. I was born and raised here in Middletown, graduated in '76 from here. In regards to the Colston's Park, is there anyone here that knows where the property line is?
He wasn't able to tell you.
Yeah, James is your name?
Jason.
Jason. He said he was gonna find out because maybe you can make it a little bit bigger, because from what I see, there was possibly an eminent domain that was just taken over from the house that is next door to the property adjacent to Colston's Park. So I'm not sure if that, I've been gone for a while, and it's been a while since I've been down in the area. But I had noticed that there's an old fence, and then there's a new fence adjacent to Colston's Park, which I guess belongs to is that where the water, okay, that's what I was gonna ask you, is that where the water stream is? Yeah, okay. Well, that answers my question. Thank you, and
Yeah.
please don't ever move it, that's our neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else have public comment? Seeing none, we will be going to executive session, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey.
Meeting adjourned.
So you might not need me in there, because you're gonna be a while, I assume. The only thing I had was just to pass along that we heard back from the